Yeah, I expect this to be a strong Thanksgiving weekend. Our expectation is there'll be $130 billion spent this weekend. That's about 4% more than last year. Consumers continue to be concerned around inflation. I was listening to your conversation with Charlie. I think he's very reflective of,
Mhm.
of consumer mindset, one in focusing upon food and beverage and experiences. I mean, that will be up over the holiday season, almost 8%, 7.6%. But looking at discounts, there's going to be a lot of promotions this weekend, and I think that will drive a lot of traffic, both in person and online.
We heard that from our
People
earlier
with
guest.
the concern,
Yeah.
with the concern around pricing and inflation, retailers are going to lean in. This will be a heavy promotion year as consumers are price sensitive.
Yay.
Exactly. Hey, Tom, I know you guys, ICSC, do a big survey here about what people are going to be doing over this Thanksgiving weekend and the holidays. Are people going to be going to stores? I mean, do people still do that, or is it just point and click?
No, of course, people go to stores. If people don't go to stores, the communities would not flourish around the country. So, we represent everything as Carol's introduction suggested: street retail in every neighborhood across the United States to large regional malls. And so, people will go out shopping. 90% of consumers will hit a store over this holiday season. I think discount department stores will clearly be the biggest winners over the holiday because of the concern around pricing. We've seen that trend over the course of the year, and gift cards will be highly sought after. The big trend in retail, as we've talked about in the past, is the integration between the physical and digital worlds. You will Retailers are somewhat agnostic as to where you buy the product, where you initiate the transaction. They would, however, prefer you go to the store to pick it up. That's the most profit effective way for them to serve their consumer. And consumers are, focused upon efficiency. And so you're really seeing those retailers that are particularly in proximity to where people live do quite well. And, occupancy is super high right now as retailers are using their stores for both traditional shopping, but also as little mini fulfillment centers.
Tom, I know we talked earlier this year. I'm just curious, and just remind our audience. I mean, are we back? I'm trying to figure out because we talked about demise of the mall for so long. So where are we, or what's the data point that you kind of compare where today is to where it was? That's important and gives us kind of some smart perspective.
Look, I think the narrative around the demise of the mall has been in existence for 40 years. I mean, people have talked about the mall dying, and here we are today. And principally, there's about the same number of malls in the United States as there was a decade ago. There are clearly some thriving malls. There's clearly some malls that are struggling, but and that is such an iconic part of people's perspective of retail, but it's a relatively small percentage of the total retail square footage in the United States. That said, occupancy in malls across the entire sector is in the mid 80%. Class A malls, high end malls are doing much better than that. And then open air retail, everything from grocery anchored retail in suburban America to Target and Costco and Walmart anchored retail, that's in the mid to high 90%. And so physical retail, there has been no really new supply put on the market since the great financial crisis, and yet retail sales have almost doubled over that period of time. And so there's really a lack of supply in the market for the demand for physical space that retailers want. But clearly, open air retail in proximity to where people live is particularly strong right now.
Tom, are there any hot categories of purchases this season, or maybe products that are kind of getting the attention of retailers?
Well, obviously it's the holiday season, so I think that toys and electronics
Yep.
will always be in vogue. But I think the category that's going to do particularly well, the part of retail that's going to go do particularly well is discount. Discount retail is going to do well because consumers are very price conscious, and people do. It's hard, as Charlie suggested, to know exactly what to buy, even when it's somebody you've known for 3 decades. And so I think gift cards are often, very, very, are quite frankly the most popular gift category because people want to give the recipient the flexibility to buy what they want.
Well, apparently, if you've got young kids in your life, the Squishmallow, a plush stuffed animal, our live retail sales blog, apparently at a Virginia Walmart, Charlottesville, 3 customers asked about the $5 Squishmallow. Am I saying it right? In a matter of minutes. Apparently, they've sold out. And it's just kind of this squishy little pillow. I don't know. That seems to be it. Well, it is interesting. I do wonder about the toy retailers, right? There's so much you can buy online here. What are you hearing about that sector specifically?
Well, I think you're right. I think the toy sector has been, it's been disruptive for the last 20 years or so, right?
Yeah.
In multiple dimensions, one online, but also back to discount retailers, discount department stores. I mean, obviously they've grown out their toy space, amount of space devoted to toys. And so a toy specific retailer is going to be challenged because they're getting competition in multiple fronts. That said, specialty retail, if it's unique and it provides an experience, could do quite well, but kind of the mass merchant toy retailer is really not, it's not the same as it was 20 years ago or even 40 years ago when we were growing up.
I remember going to the Sears and it was like the Barbie aisle and it was like, whoa, you walk down. It was pretty cool stuff. It's a very different environment today, Paul.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, if I actually find myself in a store, and it's a very low probability that that's going to happen, am I going to find stuff on the shelves? How's the inventory, supply chain, all that stuff?
Yeah, of course you will. I think, one thing, it's just implicit in your question. I don't know exactly where you live, Paul, but I think that it's important to recognize that New York City and Manhattan is its own ecosystem. And there is clearly a lot of people that shop online in Manhattan for a variety of reasons.
Yep.
But when you get off the island and you go to the rest of America, people do go to stores, and that is still by far the most popular way to shop in suburban America. And of course, remember what's happened in the course of the pandemic is people have moved back to the suburbs. Suburban retail, suburban real estate is back in vogue, and so people will go out in masses to the stores this weekend. And the supply chain issues that were experienced at the height of the pandemic have really, retailers have kind of managed their way through that. So I don't think that's going to be an issue.